This is Hard Parking, brought to you by Wright Honda and Wright Toyota out of Scottsdale, Arizona. I'm your host, Jhae Pfenning. Coming up on today's show, a little different. I had a different show planned. I'm going to push that to next week. Given what has happened this weekend with Donald Trump and the assassination attempt during his rally, I decided to reach out to my good friend Brian Sales again. A lot of you had said that you wanted to hear some feedback from us specifically on that, given the episode we did a couple weeks ago. Obviously, this is not a political podcast, but I like to talk about things that happen in society, and I appreciate the fact that you guys appreciate hearing my opinion on those matters. And so that is coming up after this word from 4 Wheel Online. For over a decade, 4 Wheel Online has been bringing the best truck accessories and truck parts to enhance the appearance and performance of all trucks and SUVs. They are dedicated to providing an extensive range of upgrades that will match any maker model on the road. The truck products cover everything to give your truck a custom look and added functionality. Need a wheel and tire package? Head over and use the configuration tool. They carry all the major brands of wheels and tires, so go get outfitted today. Visit them online at 4 Wheel Online. So I'm being joined by good friend of mine, Brian Sales. Welcome back so quickly. This is a record being back on this podcast.
Absolutely, it is, and I'm surprised the engagement was up. That's good. But don't get too used to it, because this is not our lane. We don't do this.
1,000%, and I think maybe that's what some people appreciated, and other people might chime in and say, "You guys have no idea what you're talking about." Blah 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 blah. But it's funny because I continually say that this is a non-political podcast because it's a car-centric podcast, but it's even barely cars. So if someone's tuning into this for the first time, this is not our typical conversations. But when things go on in our society that are society shaking, right? Major, I like to talk about it. You like to talk about it. And I think a lot of people are afraid to talk about it because they don't want to be canceled or say the wrong thing. In fact, I would never have, this doesn't mean you're not a celebrity, because you're not, but I would never have, like a high profile guest on here and ask them the things that I would ask you about and talk about the things that I would talk to you about, unless that was their specific lane.
Right.
Because, we live in that world where things are so granular and people look at everything you say and try to cancel you or attack you for stuff. So with all that being said, today we're recording this on Sunday, July 14th. Yesterday, should we say what we were just talking about, or should we say it like it is? Because I would say yesterday there was an alleged possible assassination attempt on former President Donald Trump during a rally, and I wanted to get your thoughts about that.
Well, that part is the mind blowing part, how they view it, the alleged possible. Like, when have we ever used that next to a president? Like, possible. Like, we all saw the video. We saw. Are you not sure that his ear was bleeding and the Secret Service had to jump? What did you watch that we didn't see? I'm not understanding. Yeah, it's crazy. But yeah, that's my immediate reaction to that when I heard that over and over again. And all of them was repeating the same thing. Alleged, possible. And I was like, really? Alleged and possible.
Why do you think that is? And everything I ask you, I obviously have a response and an opinion of as well. But why do you think that was the play? And not everybody was doing that. And I don't remember. I want to say it was Fox or CNN. One of those two led with possible.
Yeah. Actually, I was watching something from BBC. I think they slipped it in there. Someone from Skynet AU, I believe, or whatever that is, they slipped it in there. And it's all to, what's the word? Maybe desensitize or make you think that this was, not as bad as it seems. Because Nancy also chimed in to try to put the spotlight on her situation when that guy broke into her house, right? And then we had
Hmm.
another politician do the same thing, try to put the spotlight on them as they're trying to be victims again. And it was just like, man, what? Like if this was someone else, all these people would just be sending out their condolences and or whatever the case may be. They would be tossing up flowers, just saying the nicest things as possible, but they was trying to like water it down and make it not seem as bad. Like we don't know. Even Joe Biden he even said, I need all the facts." They asked him a question: "Do you think that was a assassination attempt?" And I couldn't believe the journalist said that. I was like, "What are we talking about here? What kind of question is that?" Joe Biden said, "Well, I need all the facts first." you,
Yeah,
you,
I'm gonna defend old man Joe on that a little bit, just because after listening, because I posted that feed, and that's the first time, other than when you used to do those, that I've ever listened into a room on X. I did it with Clubhouse a few times, enough to get sick
Mhm.
of Clubhouse and never use it again. But it was a different feel, because in that room, as you saw, there were some very significant people that have opinions that you should at least listen to. Some of them are a little wackier, like Andrew Tate was in there when I was first listening to it, and he said some things that made sense, and a lot of super deep conspiracy, crazy stuff where that would be true in every movie that I've seen, every
Mhm.
Tom Clancy thing I've seen.
Yeah.
But I don't know if we could jump to those things right now.
Right.
And God forbid they are all true. As crazy as this world is that he says,
Yeah.
it's like, well, I guess I don't need to know. I guess I need to just keep on listening to the lighter stuff and go about my day. But there's a lot of people in that room that made a lot of sense. And a lot of former Secret Service, a lot of former, as top of a tiered military snipers as you can get, people that have moved on to political positions and other things, and experts in their field that made a lot of comments on that. And one thing that Andrew Tate did say that made sense is Biden. There's no way he would have known anyway, because that's plausible deniability. Like it's a need to know basis if that were, and I'm getting ahead of this, if this was some sort of a deep state cover up internal job.
Mhm.
But I guess the point of that is giving him a pass a little bit, that you want to make sure you have that information confirmed, I guess, before you, the president of the greatest country, as we call it in the United States and the world, the leader of the greatest country in the world, to come out and say stuff like that. But a lot of people, I mean, to me, it was obvious, right? And, I got in some of my friend groups, and and, you can't, politics is one of those things, right? Like religion and, society, racial issues, where you have to be very careful, even around your close friends,
Mhm.
and careful as in not trying not to judge them for their
Mhm.
opinions or their lack of taking certain things serious, you know, or their over seriousness of things that aren't really that serious. And so one of my good friends has said, well, they're saying that as a paintball gun, and it's all staged, and that's clearly paint, because a paintball gun sounds just like a real weapon. I was like, who is they? Who is they saying that this is? And he's like, well, it's people in different groups. I'm like, okay, well, but he's also a deep, 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 deep Trump hater.
Yeah.
But even he had said after the last debate that he goes, we can't. He goes, I hate Donald Trump, but I can't vote for Biden. We got to get somebody else in there. This is a joke. Um, but my response to him is, outside of this rumored 22 that was there, and you would
Mhm.
know this, and this is why you're on here, because I'm not a tactical guy, but I have shot some pretty high caliber weapons,
Yeah.
whatever the terminology is, as recent as last summer in my cousin's house. And they didn't sound like no paintball gun that I've ever done when I've done paintball
Yeah.
courses before in the past.
No, that didn't sound like that. I don't know what type of paintball gun, unless it's a heavily modified paintball gun. I
And this guy isn't
yeah.
I don't know if he's ever gone paintball shooting or ever shot a real weapon, to be honest with you. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I don't know about that one. That didn't even cross my mind that it was a
Right.
paintball gun. Like that didn't. Mm-mm. And
What's the first thing Brian Sales thought about when you saw it? Because by the time that you had chimed in on our chat, Wes and I had already been talking about it for quite a while, because
yeah.
he actually sent me the link, and I was like, wait, what? And I went right to Twitter, went right to Google, and I go, holy crap, this is happening. And that's when
Yeah.
I posted it on social media myself. And then I just, for the next 3.5 hours, I just
Yeah.
did nothing
Yeah.
but consume it. And I didn't
Yeah.
watch it on my TV because I knew that I was going to be watching Fox, CNN, or
Mhm.
something else. And I went right to Twitter because honestly, as much as I hate Twitter or X, because I did get off of it for a while, like I said last time, and I was thinking about getting off of it again before what happened this weekend
Yeah.
because it's that negative.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But it is always there's nowhere else for breaking news, nowhere
Yeah.
else for breaking
Nowhere else.
important
Yeah.
news.
I forgot what I was watching initially, but that came across actually Candace. I saw Candace Owens on her YouTube live, and I was like, "What?
Oh,
Trump assassin or an attempted assassination?" I was like, "What? Ain't no way." So I'm watching it. I was like, "Oh snap!" And then she played the video. I was like, "Whoa!" Like they really tried to take out Trump. It's 2024. That's pretty bold with all the cameras, all
right.
the people. Like that is a bold move, and I don't think a normal human being is like, you know what, this is enough. I'm sick of him. It's time to wipe him out. That I don't believe that at all. There's no way you can convince me that a normal American will be like, you know what, I'm doing this. I don't believe that. They've had to been coached, brainwashed, whatever, inside job,
Well, there's a lot
whatever
of
it is.
brainwashed people, though. Make no mistake, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
that it had to be, something like that that made that person get up there. But I saw another video clip where I'm like, I heard three shots go off, and Secret Service finally got up there and jumped on them. I'm like, oh, that's a weird delay. Three shots, and it wasn't like
It
bang,
was
bang, bang, bang. It was bang, bang, bang. And I'm like, so for for note, I just finished up a course for executive protection. I'm an executive protection agent, so it's on the same line as a Secret Service agent. Um, we're trained to react quickly. Three shots is, and they wasn't like rapid, bang, bang, bang. It was bang, bang, bang. The video I saw was bang. Sniper people, the counter sniper team is up on the building. Look like they have someone in their sights. They're looking. I can't say if they see him, but they're looking, and 10 seconds goes by. Trump's talking, and then the first shot rang out, second shot, and then I think they shoot at him or whatever the case may be. But there's so many questions. Even right now, while I'm thinking about it, there's so many questions. I have so many questions. I feel like this is all
I
they
don't.
wanted to take him out.
Yeah, I
That's what
don't
I'm
know
at.
if you consumed if you because I became obsessed with it yesterday when it happened.
What
And I
time did
just
you go
sat
to
up here
bed?
in my room. Well, I turned everything off.
I mean,
You
so
know,
you watched it for what, 3, 4 hours?
I was up here in the office working on some things and listening to the feed on X, that room that had
Yeah.
some very significant people in it, and just listening to it, and then just rolling the feed and watching interviews and videos and kind of
Hmm.
picking out what I felt was legit because those people are weird, right? Because we have already talked about how X is kind of a really crappy place, and so people throwing out all sorts of conspiracies and pointing the finger here and pointing the finger there, and then of course you have the diehard left people coming out, you have the diehard right people coming out, and I'm just like, oh my god, like this is the problem with unlimited free speech, and I know that's a very controversial thing for me to say, but you and I both agree with this in a certain sense, where I think that you obviously have a freedom of speech. That's what this country is. But there's certain things that should be illegal, criminal. Burning the flag is your constitutional right, but I think that should be punishable by a felony misdemeanor or something.
Hmm.
Um, you can just like hate speech. Hate speech isn't really permissible. You can be penalized for hate speech.
Yeah.
I don't know, but don't get me going down that whole freedom of speech rant. Um, But there's just a lot of BS, and there's a lot of people that are being called out. And I think the very first thing, and I knew it, as soon as this happened, it's the Democrats are trying to kill him. It's the Democrats. And that just brought out all the Democratic hate. And I was like, oh no, because I understand how people would come to that conclusion immediately. It's a snap reaction, right?
Yeah.
It's a snap reaction. But what if that's what somebody wanted?
Yeah.
And so that's a very conspiratorial thing to say. I don't know if conspiratorial is a word. Maybe I just made it up, but that's a very conspiracy thing to think, but that's where my brain goes is when this stuff's happened. First off, is it real? And then once you see a couple different video clips, you're like, okay, this actually happened.
Right.
So it is real. Okay, was
Right.
it staged? Probably not. Was it staged and something went wrong?
Hmm.
Was it? And I think these are all the thoughts that go through everyone's head. I mean, even my wife was like, "Is it real?" Because I ran outside and go, "Babe, they just tried to kill Trump at one of the Trump's rallies. Is it real?" I said, "Yeah, it's real." Well, don't blame me for asking. I'm like, "Well, don't blame me for asking because that's the society we live in right now."
Right.
And then we turned on the Spanish channel because my mother's always watching that, and they were talking about it there. And so from that point, I became consumed with it. But there's so many things that are kind of weird here,
Wait.
and
So did you go immediately to thinking it was Democrats?
I don't
Like after
think
you
so.
confirmed that it was okay. Okay.
I don't think so because the thought is, who would have done this? My wife calls me a conspiracy theorist, which is hilarious because I'm not. But what I like to do is kind of collect all the data that's available to me and make my own opinion based on what's given to me, right?
Hmm.
And I'm a guy, I'm very imaginable, with things and very curious. And it's like, well, what if? What if this was a bipartisan cover up? Because honestly, yeah, we think Biden's insane and we wish he would step down. But there's people that have come out on definitely, obviously, the Democrats, right? But there's people who've come out on the Republican
Yeah.
side and
They don't
said,
want him.
we don't need Donald Trump. This is the
Yeah.
worst thing that could happen, but we sure
Yeah.
as hell don't want Biden.
Yeah.
There's people on the Biden side that say we cannot have Biden up there. He has to go. But we sure as hell don't want Trump. So it's not beyond, the realm of possibility. It would be super movie-like, right?
Hmm.
But when people start pulling in, okay, the JFK thing and this and that, and who shot Ronald Reagan, or who's trying to kill Ronald Reagan? It's just, is this the CIA? Where did the security fail? And so I've listened to people come online and talk about the sniper position, similar to what you were saying. One of the guys, I think his name was Marco something, and he used to work on protection detail for Barack.
Hmm.
And he was saying that is the most boring, worst job that's glorified on TV is being in the Secret Service or working president detail because nothing ever happens. There's a lot of turnover in those positions. They don't get paid anything. It's one of the highest divorce rates. And
Hmm.
I don't think the average agent doesn't last more than a couple of years before transferring out. So basically what that means is there's a lot of people that are working those high security positions that have zero experience.
Hmm.
And the training suffers.
Yeah.
And, it should have never got to the point where 10 days prior, they would have been walking those areas and marking everything off and no one would have been able to come. But I think the biggest difference that no one's really talking about is obviously, like, I don't think that would have ever happened under Biden's watch as up there because he is the president.
Hmm.
And Donald Trump is the former president. And so former
Hmm.
presidents don't get the same level of security detail.
Hmm.
Like I'm not trying to excuse what happened because it's a failure. It is a security failure, right?
Hmm.
But people keep saying, well, when I saw a video on Twitter, someone was saying, well, when someone tried to take a shot at Reagan, Secret Service jumped on him immediately. And
Hmm.
that's what you're supposed to do. That's what people that I was listening to said, you're trained to do that. You're trained to throw your life, everything you've learned your whole life, exact opposite. You hear bullets, duck. No, you hear bullets, jump and become the vest, like just like with the movie Bodyguard, right? Become the vest of the person that you're supposed to protect. And then the poor lady who's now in charge of everything, who's just getting grilled all over social media or all over Twitter for being in charge of the security detail, I guess used to work at Frito-Lay before she got the head position
Wow.
over the president, or, obviously, Trump's not the acting president, but she had a very obviously high position. So now she's being laid out to dry because she doesn't have the experience. But did you see the video of them trying to put him in the car? And she was terrified. You could tell. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know what I would have done in that position, but I'm also not trained to be in that position. She struggled taking her gun out. She struggled putting her gun in. And it's just
She was even short. She shouldn't even been in front of him. She shouldn't have been
Yeah.
in, like we talk about the optics when I was doing the class, and like we can visually see his head. We shouldn't have been able to see his head.
You
If
shouldn't
she's
be
gonna
right.
be if the so if the I'm not saying this well, okay. If someone else was out there, so if they had two shooters, the first shooter was a distraction just to draw the attention, and now if the other shooter is directly in front of him, he would have been popped. Like he was standing there doing all. They should have forced him down. He could have been popped so many times, and I was like, that is who's who's these people that's up there? It was just it didn't it did not rub me the right way to know that was Secret Service and like that's bad training or whatever. It was just bad. And for them to take so long to get the car up, like so many bad things could have happened. And she's probably going to end up losing her job or she's probably going to end up quitting. But
There's two jobs that are definitely going to be lost during this.
yeah, because that was it was horrible. I was like, ugh. It was just ugh. And if you're in that field, you just see all the red flags. That's a red flag, red flag, red flag. What is going on? And I don't see, we got the RNC convention, was it this upcoming week in Milwaukee? They're not gonna allow anyone to move around in that city. That's gonna be
Yeah,
insane.
that's 1,000%. And a lot of the stuff that was being said, it's when you have such a limited resources on Secret Service at an event like that, they lean on local law enforcement and other agencies, and there was just a gross failure of communication across the board. There was, because this was only about 150, 60 yards away,
Yeah.
which isn't really anything.
Nope.
And there were, on
Hold
record,
on.
one or two, go ahead.
I was just when my wife said my wife heard them say 150 yards. I was like, yeah, babe, remember I showed you how to shoot that? She said, yeah, that's an easy shot. Like she knows 150 yards is nothing. That guy, whoever took that, should have been able to take out Trump. And for them not to have that perimeter set or even have people up on all the buildings was just that's a huge red flag. 150 yards is not far at all. That is a easy shot unless you're in a blizzard or something where the wind is like whipping 60 miles and then maybe, but still that
But
was a
doesn't it also
malfunction.
depend on your weapon? Because
Well,
they're
yeah, I
saying they
mean,
found an AR-15 there, an AR-15 22. And I got to think about it like this. Easy shot for your wife, right?
mhm,
I don't know if it'd be an easy shot for me, but I don't have a husband or, in my case, a wife that's a tactical, trainer like you are.
right.
But the guy's laying down, prone position, probably nervous as shit,
Yeah.
right? So I can see how he would miss. I think that they say with Trump turning his head as if someone said something
Yeah.
to him, that may have actually saved his life because
Yeah.
the bullet, like his statement came out, it did take off part of his ear or whatever.
Mhm.
Um, so there's that, right? But I think that there was a couple, not I think, but there was a couple people that were eyewitness to pointing the guy out.
Mhm.
And they said, hey, sheriff, I actually saw a video of the guy. He like filmed him and you could see the guy running because the camera was all over the place. He's like, hey, there's a guy over there. There's a guy over there. There's a guy over there. Hey, there's a guy over there. But I think it's, in listening to that, people aren't trained. Like regular everyday people like myself. Well, I'm a little more cool headed. I'm going to give myself credit for that because I am. But, most people aren't trained on how to, like, if you see something like that, he was frantic,
Mhm.
and it's just like, I probably would have reported it differently, but still would have made sure that I got it reported.
Yeah.
Um, but that's a breakdown of communication.
Yeah.
If he told the law officer, it's their job to radio immediately, said, hey, we got a guy over here on the roof. A couple people are saying they see a guy crawling up a roof over here, and they reported they may have a weapon in his possession. We're not sure. And then okay, where is it? Okay, it's about, where's your position? It's my 2:00. Well, where's your 2:00? So I could imagine there's a little bit of delay there in trying
Yeah.
to figure out exactly what he was talking about. Because to your point, and what we could see on the video, they had either spotted this guy or were scoping and looking for this guy aggressively when Trump was still up there talking.
Mhm.
And there's a lot of people who say, well, the guy aimed down the sights and maybe you could speak to this. And he came off the site and then he went back down on the site. And I've read some experts, self-proclaimed experts, so I have no reason to believe that they're not based on what they're saying, and listen to them talk about it. And it's very believable. But what do you think was going on there? And I'll tell you what was explained to me, or maybe do you want me to tell you what was explained to me first, and then you can comment on that? So to be so close, right, 150 yards, those guys, their scopes are, I think, 300 or 400 yard scopes because you're not expecting somebody to be literally right there.
Right.
And as I say this, thinking back to when I was shooting the high caliber assault rifle last year, the cans that we were looking at were 40, 50 yards in front of us. I could see them plain as day. But as soon as I put down my eye down that scope, I can't find the damn thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because the scope is so strong and it focuses so much.
Right.
I have to kind of lift up and be, oh, okay, there it is. So their thought is that they knew the guy was there, but they couldn't get him in scope. And then they kind of looked up to confirm, looked down and took the shot.
So I would say usually snipers have a spotter. So the sniper is actually
there was a guy right next to him as well. But he also had a gun too, but no one's talking about him.
Yeah,
he could have taken one of the shots because we heard a handful of shots after the fact.
Yeah. So I like the sniper has a spotter and he's supposed to be identifying and telling them where he is. So you have
just like
4 eyes. Yeah. So you have 4 eyes or you have 2 eyes on the situation to identify where's the location, where is this person at? And then I would even throw in the fact that, it's 2024. Every agency, every department has drones. Why are drones in the sky? They're quiet.
Right.
Why? I like all the security companies that I've been trying to, get in touch with for work. They all are offering drones, like drone operators, positions for whatever, just regular high value people like bank executives or whatever. Like you can follow them with a drone to make sure they're protected or whatever. Why doesn't President Trump have the same thing? Well, drones. One drone. All you need is one drone in the sky doing a rally, and you would be able to identify
the threat on the rooftop.
Threats. Oh no! Oh yeah! And there was no trees where that man was, so he wasn't covered.
There were trees there, but I don't know if in the line. Obviously, not in the line of sight because he had to have a clear line of sight.
Right now, and I'm saying by the buildings. I was just saying by the buildings, there weren't no trees like covering that rooftop because they did an overview and you could see like he was there. So why don't they have drones? What was the spotter looking at? I want to know how much time they have in that service. Like how much time or training did they have as a sniper, spotter? Because that's their job to spot things quickly. So that you don't
back to what I said about the lack of training. But I mean, if you're in that position, if you have enough training to be on that rooftop behind that rifle on that tripod, like we saw, to your point, trained, right? It's not like you're not a green guy. As you're talking about that, I'm wondering how long is it going to be until the audio comes out, the communications audio.
Yeah.
Because isn't that I think that's public record. I know when the police officers are talking to each other, that's public record.
But what about the Secret Service, though?
Right. That's what I'm saying. Because then you can hear the communication. Hey, we got a guy over here that's saying that there's a guy on the roof. Yeah. Hey, what's your 20? Blah, blah, blah. Over here. Like, where is that communication? So we can see what the delay is.
Did we ever get the communications from the January 6th when all that happened? That we get the radio
I don't know. Because I'll be honest, I didn't really look into it.
Oh, okay.
I saw it happening on TV, and I'm like, "Oh my god, what a shit show!" I don't even want to know what the hell is going on here. And I think at that point, I may have already kind of bumped off of Twitter.
Yeah, but yeah, I never heard anyone say about anything about the radio, the comms, or anything. So we probably don't. I don't think we get that type. I think we only get local stuff. We're not privy to the upper.
But somebody's investigating. So what do you think? I mean, at the end of the day, because this is what people want to know. Conspiracy. Was it a radical acting on their own, a radical with a little bit of help? Who do you think is ultimately responsible for this at the end of the day? So let's fast forward. FBI does as thorough of an investigation as they did on January 6th, where they're nabbing people who, were there, not necessarily that stormed the Capitol, and throwing them in jail for incredibly long sentences, which a big ruling came out on that recently as well. So they're probably going to get out of jail. But let's fast track. to 12 months from now, what do you think is going to be discovered?
What I think is going to be discovered? It's going to be discovered that they didn't do their jobs. They didn't really secure the area. They went there. It was a probably like it's we're gonna find out that it was a last minute stop. Yeah, let's stop in Pennsylvania. So we didn't have time to scope the location out. We were short. Uh, we had to grab someone from a local department to be our sniper. Um, some of the sheriffs, they're only there for part-time. We're a small town, so he didn't really know what to do. He's actually one of the guys that helps traffic. That's what we're going to. Everyone was incompetent and undertrained, and it's going to be local departments. Uh, it's going to be their fault for not having the funds to do it. That's what we're going to hear. Funding, no funding, not enough bodies, improper training. That's what we're going to hear. And it's not going to be anything uh, of value to understand why this took place. It's always going to be those little things.
What about the deep state conspiracies? Was this a wacko acting on their own, or is
Oh,
this did somebody? How did he get access to crawl up that rooftop 150 yards away from former President Trump at a rally? And again, the security isn't going to be as tight as it would have been if it was Joe Biden, just because Joe Biden is the president of the United States. It should be, obviously, but how is that going to be explained? Was this planned?
he his letter is already they probably already found his death letter. What do they call that? I forgot what they call that. When they all
His goodbye
everyone
letter or his, yeah, something. Yep.
yeah. So he probably was homeless and he was already at that building, and he just came up on top and had the rifle and was just deranged from all the nonsense that was going on and decided to take a shot. It doesn't matter what we hear, what they come out with, but it's not going to make sense. Because as we learn in this from many events, none of the things that they say add up. It just gives us another question. Like we have
I guess
three more questions on top of that.
I guess already today, Sunday, the day after this murder attempt, this assassination attempt, some news outlets are already coming out and saying that it's Donald Trump's fault because he incites this type of violence in our America or whatever. Um, and then what about Biden said, a week ago, it's time to put Donald Trump in the bullseye. So then people are saying that he asked for this, so maybe, which I think both are ridiculous, by the way.
Yeah.
But again, that just speaks to what we opened with, the diehard lefters and the diehard righters, and the news outlets that are being driven by both.
I just
Maybe
want to
this
say,
guy, go ahead.
I was just saying, I just want to say this. We see the extreme stuff on the left and we see the extreme stuff on the right. And the extreme stuff on the right is going to be so loud that the extreme stuff on the left is going to have to try to catch up to it. But the extreme stuff on the right is going to be so loud that even if they do give us something of value, the stuff on the right that's going to be coming out, that's going to be making Trump seems like some kind of deity is going to be off the wall. I logged in it to today. I looked at it today, and the things that people are saying, and like they already equating it to 1776. He has the same blood that our forefathers. I was like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
no, no. What are
yeah.
you saying? He was an old man that got shot at. That's what happened. He was an old man that was standing up there, defenseless, helpless, and was shot. He didn't go out there leading the charge. What are y'all talking? We're not going to get anything. It's just going to be a bunch of garbage here and a bunch of garbage here, and the media is going to play with that garbage, and they gonna choose incite whatever side they want to incite to keep the real information from coming out, whatever that real information is. I'm telling you right now, I don't believe that person took it upon himself. There's a lot of people that talk trash. I know a lot of patriots that, they're super patriot. They're sitting at home doing their everyday thing that they've been doing. They talk. The same people on the left, even though they're out in the streets, but they're not doing these things. These people have been brainwashed or empowered to do to take that shot. That boy, whoever he was, that man was empowered to take that shot,
It's a 20-year
either
old.
yeah, okay, by brainwashing or some type of drug, whatever the case may be. But I don't believe that he woke up that morning and was like, you know what, this is it. I don't believe that. We don't live in. It's 2024. I can't even tell you a 20-year-old that has that type of uh gall to, this people. No, I don't. No,
I don't
I
know,
don't
man. I
believe
would
it.
argue that's the age, right? Like the Kyle Rittenhouse thing. Those people who are in their late teens, early 20s, that are going to change the world. They're going to be the one. They're going to be the trigger person. They're going to be the one that has somehow solves world hunger.
Mm,
And creates the longer lasting light bulb, creates the zero energy, device that just changes everything. And I could see someone like that, because this seems like it would be the traditional, the stereotypical depiction of a Trumper, right? A diehard Trumper.
mm,
But it wasn't, right? This is a guy who maybe he heard what Biden said and he goes, "I'm going to be a hero. He's coming to town. I'm going to be a hero," and just think that they're going to be that person. I mean, I don't know, right? But I agree. I don't think he just woke up that morning and decided. I think either he acted alone or was in like a small group of radicals, and he says, "I'll be the one to do it, and we will be remembered for this glorious day." Or I don't know, man. But the fact that he was able to get up on that rooftop, something's going to come through somewhere.
planted.
Just like a movie, the guy who was in charge of that post was paid off by, he's part of the same radical group. It's like one of
Yeah,
those heist movies where everybody's part of the crew.
yeah,
But I don't think that, and people are going to probably think I'm stupid for this. I don't think that the Democrats, the need to know small focus cell of these top secret Democrats that are designed to change the world, put something together and put that kid up there to do it. That's that whole deep state conspiracy. I don't think that would happen. And if it does happen, I don't think we're ever going to know. But
yeah.
one thing that I told Wes is Trump did say that if he's elected president, he's going to release all the JFK files. And so if you throw that into the whole conspiracy mix, it's like, oh, somebody doesn't want to blah, 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 right? So then we got to
Yeah.
take this guy out, and so when, Tucker's coming out and he's looking like a future teller, because he had said a few weeks or a few months ago that only things left is to assassinate Trump. Like, now people are coming out and saying that we warned you guys of this and we knew this was going to happen. It's like, what was that episode of The Simpsons that eventually came true, like a year or 10 or 20 years later, right? And so people are like, they did it on The Simpsons 20 years ago, or Family Guy or something like that. And they told us this was going to happen. It's like, I don't
Hmm.
know, man. That's just a super weird string of coincidences. But one thing I will say to kind of wrap this up is, first off, thank you for coming back. This has been kind of a fun conversation, just to kind of talk to just another, human being that has independent thought. We
Hmm.
laugh and we joke about some of the stuff, and we don't laugh and joke about other stuff. Um, but at the end of the day, people because I've read this is staged. Trump did this for more votes. And how did that photographer just happen to get the perfect shot? Well, that's what he's apparently it's a Pulitzer winner photographer.
Hmm.
And those are the people who put themselves in the thick,
Yeah.
and he ran over to the front as they're taking Trump off, and he had the credentials to be there. So it's not like someone planted him there.
Yeah.
And, he got one of the greatest photos that I've seen in my life
Yeah.
of, freedom in America. And
Yeah.
I've seen people come out that say, I do not like Donald Trump. I never have, I never will, but that is a great shot. And, it makes me proud to be an American today. But unfortunately, there was a life, at least one other life lost besides the shooter. I know one guy got shot in the head, and I watched the interview of the doctor who tried to save his life, and he said there was brain matter all over the place.
Yeah.
Another woman got shot. I guess someone was in critical condition. I don't know if they passed or not as of this recording. I have not looked into it. It's very
Hmm.
exhausting, to look into those things sometimes.
Yeah.
But it doesn't, and I said this when we were talking before, the approval, people say, well, Biden has to step down now. Like, well, why? Why does he have to step down now because of what happened yesterday? And, Donald Trump's approval rating just shot up by like 20 something points. Now people are coming out like Elon Musk. I fully support and endorse Donald Trump. I'm like, my opinion of Donald Trump hasn't changed since we last spoke. Like, I still don't know if I would vote for him, but I know that I would not vote for Joe Biden and I would not vote for Kamala Harris. I mean, that hasn't changed for me. What is any of that changed for you, Brian?
No, he was, someone tried
And
to
I'm not
take him
saying I
out.
wouldn't vote for Donald Trump. I'm just saying I would. I can't look at what happened this weekend and say,
Yeah,
damn it,
and that,
he's got
yeah,
my vote.
yeah, that people who do that, that's ridiculous. Those are irrational human beings that should never be listened to ever, because those are your roller coaster, providers.
Yeah.
Anytime something changes, they rolling with that. If the wave shift this way, they rolling that way. We need solid people, and they're literally telling you, "I'm not solid. I'm going wherever the wind blows. If the wind goes up, I'm going that way." Your vote should not be changing just because he was shot at. Did you forget why you did not like him in the first place? What changed? Him being, almost killed? That makes no sense. My like I said, I'm still writing myself in. It doesn't matter. I mean, they could have, yeah, whatever. I'm writing myself in. So, no, nothing's changing.
I
I'm
thought you were
happy
going to
that he
write
did.
me in.
Oh, I did say that. Well, I'm gonna write you in as VP. So
Okay, I'll take that because
there
I
we
don't
go.
want, I don't want to be the one. I don't want to be the one getting shot at, Brian.
Hey, it's a crazy job. It's a crazy world. It's a crazy world we live in. But yeah, and people should not be changing their votes just or changing how they feel just because someone was people die every day. Isn't that in a movie? Did someone say that in a movie? People
Yeah,
die
and
every
it's
day
true.
today.
Part of the journey is the end. But that being said, I think this is one of these paramount events. This is why we had to talk about it because I don't think I'm ever going to forget. I may forget that it was July 13th because fortunately, regardless of what the sick people in the world think, fortunately, Donald Trump wasn't killed.
Hmm.
But it's one of those deals like I would say September 11th, but a lot of people died September 11th. So you're
Yeah.
never going to forget. Plus, they remind us every year.
Yeah.
But it's one of those events that you just, O.J. Simpson chase.
Yeah.
We're just never going to forget. George Floyd, we're just never going to forget in our American history, at least in our lifetime, that those are major things that happened while we were around. And
Yeah.
we're just never going to forget that. The
Yeah.
attempt on Donald Trump.
That's never going anywhere. That's is because again, it's 2024. The last time something happened like that was like what, 70s, 60s?
I didn't think I was going to see something like that in my lifetime.
Yeah.
Granted, there's still a lot of life left to live, heaven forbid. But that's what I was shocked at. I was like, wow, this is really
Yeah.
happening
I
in
was like,
2024.
whoa.
To answer your question, what was my first thoughts? Now that I think about it, that's exactly what my first thought was. This is 2024. This just happened.
Yeah. Like this is not a third world country. This is
Right.
America and all the cameras. It's just like, really? Wow, that's crazy. The timing was just is weird. We had 2020 when he was going, COVID and all that. But yeah, it's crazy. 2024, it would never be forgotten.
All right, B. I mean, you look nice. I know you just came from church.
Thank you.
Maybe you should do all your future episodes like that.
Nah, I don't know about all that.
Somewhere I have a nice shirt and a nice tie. I think I've donated 90% of my dress clothes in the last 4 years just because I don't go to the office anymore. But it's good
Yeah.
seeing you.
Nice
I'll
seeing
catch
you.
you on the chat feeds and, you're my correspondent for all crazy shit.
All right. We'll make sure everyone stays leveled and not all. So,
Right. All right, man. Thanks, B.
yep.
Special thanks to Brian Sales for joining the podcast. And I'm glad he was available. It's not really an episode I wanted to do on my own. I felt that it desperately needed another voice. And why not bring on somebody that I'm used to talking about controversies and things in society with? I think he brings a different perspective sometimes, a fresh perspective sometimes. And it's good to talk to someone like that I know doesn't have an agenda. He's a different cat, and we get along really well. There's things that I say when I do this podcast where you may be a friend of mine and you may think I'm way out and I'm wacky, but you still continue to listen. There's other things that I may say, and maybe that's the last time you've listened to me. I don't think I'm out there. I don't think I'm a conspiracy theorist. I don't think I'm some sort of a radical, but I have eyes, and I would hope that some of my thoughts represent some of you out there as well, but I have a platform, whereas some of you do not. That conversation, like all conversations and guests, are brought to you by the Cell Shop, an Arizona-based retailer that strives to be your destination of choice for wireless services. Whether Arizona, Washington State, California, Texas, and Florida, they are an authorized AT&T dealer, so visit them at cellshop.us and get connected today. I had some car news as well, but I think I'm just going to go ahead and push that. It's getting late on Sunday. We celebrated my mother-in-law's birthday, which is this upcoming Tuesday, with family, so they were over here pretty late. But that episode, I think the conversation that Brian and I had, and I urge you to go watch it on YouTube if you're not already listening to this audio on YouTube. Switch over to the video. There is a video because I used some images, and seeing our faces and our expressions sometimes helps in certain situations. But if you're still listening, I thank you, and you're one of the real ones. And chances are you're not a first-time listener. If you are a first-time listener, go ahead and leave a comment. Go ahead and leave a review, especially if you're listening on Apple. You can just scroll to the very bottom of the page and write a review. I think Spotify allows the same thing. I know that some listeners respond when listening through Amazon. There's usually a question. And so if you see it, I urge you to respond to it. Next week's episode will be Ralph Jhae. So Ralph Jhae is the design officer at Stellantis, which is a major, I talked about this before, but we made it happen. It's a major car company. He's been there for over 30 years, and that's coming up next week. That was going to be this week's episode. But obviously, given what's transpired this weekend, I felt this was more important to kind of get out. And since Brian and I talked, there's been even more things that have come out. There was a post where it was stated that one of the police officers went up the ladder, saw the shooter. The shooter allegedly pointed the gun at the officer. The officer retreated back down the ladder. And so obviously the officer is being called a coward and everything. But I would like to see the video. Somebody had to have been recording that because I'm guessing the officer got up there, saw the guy pointed the rifle at him, the officer backed down. But maybe I'm thinking you would go down one or two steps just long enough to pull out your gun and go back up. But then by then it was too late. So I need to see that footage. There's also unconfirmed reports that the sniper had the shooter. He was on record saying he had the shooter in scope for 4 minutes and he could not get the go-ahead from Secret Service to pull the trigger. That has not been confirmed yet. That was just a random tweet. And that's the danger of social media, especially a place like X, aka Twitter, formerly Twitter, is there's people who will post things and you don't have to fact check it. And for something as dangerous and as important as this weekend, you really need to believe what you're looking at and decide, is this something I want to repost? Is this something I really want to comment on? Because there's a lot of fake news out there. There's a lot of bad stuff. A lot of it. And I said this, X is the worst place. It's the best place for breaking news. It's the worst place for everything else. You have to check your mental health if you consume that so much, if you overly consume that. So with that being said, I want to thank Right Honda and Right Toyota, 4wheelonline.com, Cell Shop Wireless Services, AutoCannon officially licensed Honda and Acura gear. Can't forget Patreon business supporter, Kuya Automotive out of Winter Garden, Florida, Automotive Specialty Tool out of Owings Mills, Maryland, Pell Construction out of County, Michigan. I need to get Pell on here. I've been talking about it for a long time. Beak House Small Home Design out of Ashburn, Virginia, and Traverse City, Michigan. And of course, Shaving Success with the one and only Wes Tankersley out of Boise, Idaho. If you're in a position to help the podcast upgrade, feel free to join the Patreon for as little as $3 a month to get access to bonus audio as well as show swag. If you're a die-hard listener to this show, there's no reason why you shouldn't sign up to become a Patreon. No reason. Special thanks to Mark Stoneman, Catherine Cox, Eddie Ramos, Richard Graves, Byron Jones, Bo Jung, Alex Gamina, Drew Bunkley, and Yasu Chiba. If you want some swag, go to hardparkingpod.com. Follow me on Instagram at Jhae Pfenning or at Jhae Travels. Join the Hard Parking Violations Facebook group. Join the Hard Parking channel on the main Instagram. I can't grow without you telling the world how great the show is. Let's do this. Let's grow this thing together. I'll talk to you all next week. And by the way, I am back, like I said, back on X. It's just at Jhae Pfenning.
Shut up!